Hello everyone. Today, I'm excited to share with you a heartfelt story. A Night of Impact, My Brother and the Emmy 2025. Part 1. The genesis of a passion as night fell upon the city, casting the streetlights into a shimmering, broken string of pearls. The air in our small home, usually quiet on regular days, was different. There was something bubbling, an eager anticipation within my older brother, and one his younger sister by 7 years could sense that excitement too. My brother loves watching TV shows. He doesn't just watch them for entertainment. He's like an amateur critic, a dedicated viewer, always searching for deeper meaning within every frame, every line of dialogue. For him, television isn't merely a pastime. It's a vast world where stories are told, emotions are woven, and grand ideas are sown. His name is Ethan, a 25-year-old with eyes that sparkle whenever he talks about movies and TV series. He possesses an enormous mental library of films, able to rattle off names of directors, actors, and even the most minute details of an episode aired years ago. I often tease him, calling him the living encyclopedia of cinema and television, and among all the events related to this industry. Perhaps nothing made Ethan anticipate more than one particular event: the Emmy Awards. Alice, do you know why the Emmys are so special? Ethan asked me one afternoon as I was drawing on the floor, while he meticulously cleaned our large-screen TVA treasure he'd saved up for months to buy. I looked up, shaking my pencil slightly. I guess because they give awards for TV shows. He smiled gently, a smile that revealed deep dimples. Exactly, but it's more than that. He says the Emmy Awards are very special. They don't just honor the best people, the most outstanding works. They're also a place where stories and silent efforts are recognized. They show the best actors, the best shows, and the best stories on television. His voice was full of passion, as if he himself were a part of that glittering world. He explained that the Emmys aren't just about famous stars or glamorous awards, but also about the dedication of hundreds, thousands of people behind the camera, from screenwriters, directors, producers, to set designers and sound engineers. He believed that each Golden Emmy statuette was a profound tribute, an acknowledgement of countless hours of arduous work, sleepless nights spent creating works of art, stories that could touch the hearts of audiences. Ethan's passion for the Emmys wasn't just simple admiration. It was a deep respect for the art of storytelling and its power. He often said, "Television isn't just entertainment. It's a mirror reflecting life, the voice of an era." As I grew a little older, I began to understand his passion. I realized that Ethan didn't just watch TV. He felt it. He lived within each story, immersing himself in the fates of each character. Whenever a new series premiered, he would immediately seek it out, analyze the plot, evaluate the acting, and never forget to share his thoughts with me. Even if sometimes I didn't fully grasp the technical jargon he used, he opened up a world to me that I had previously only considered as moving images on a screen. He taught me how to look deeper, how to perceive hidden messages, and how to appreciate the creative efforts behind each production. And then, this year, the Emmy Awards 2025 arrived. For weeks, the atmosphere in our house was filled with excitement. Ethan began updating information about the nominations, predicting winners, and enthusiastically discussing each award category. His prediction chart was taped to the refrigerator with names carefully circled, arrows connecting possibilities. I saw him rereading articles, rewatching interviews, as if preparing for an important exam. It was an event he couldn't miss, a grand celebration he had awaited all year. "Tonight's the night, Alice," Ethan exclaimed at dinner, his face beaming. "Emmy 2025. I'm all set for an all-nighter." He had everything ready, from his favorite bags of chips and sodas to a soft fleece blanket to comfortably sit on the sofa. I knew that night he would once again stay up alone, lost in the world he loved. Although I didn't have the patience to watch the entire hours-long ceremony like him, I always felt the energy and joy radiating from him. I would stay up with him for a while to witness the initial moments of the awards show, to feel a part of his excitement when the clock struck 7 p.m., our local time, corresponding to the live broadcast in a different time zone. Ethan sat upright in front of the large TV screen. The blue light from the screen illuminated his face, highlighting his focused gaze. The ceremony began with a spectacular opening act, with glittering stars walking the red carpet, dazzling outfits, and radiant smiles. The applause from the audience echoed through the TV speakers, creating a solemn and exhilarating atmosphere. Ethan whispered, commenting on each outfit, each red carpet moment, missing no detail. Time passed, and the award categories were gradually announced. Ethan sat still, hardly blinking. Every time an award was called out, he would hold his breath, then sigh in relief or cheer with joy. He was like an in-person audience member, immersing himself in every emotion of the night. I sat beside him for a while, occasionally handing him a glass of water or a snack. I loved watching him in those moments, absorbed and genuine. Midway through the ceremony, as I was getting tired and about to go to bed, an important award was announced. That was the award for Best Drama, one of the categories Ethan was particularly interested in. He had placed many bets on a few names, and I knew he was very tense. The award presenter, a veteran actress, stopped for a moment, creating more drama. Then she smiled, opened the envelope, and announced, "The Pit." Ethan seemed to awaken. A radiant smile spread across his face, and his eyes lit up in a special way. He clapped his hands vigorously, alone in the quiet room, but I knew his heart was a fireworks festival. "Amazing!" he exclaimed, his voice full of satisfaction. "I knew it. The Pit absolutely deserves it." A show called The Pit won Best Drama. The Pit was a drama series he had followed from its very first episodes. He often told me about its complex plot, the superb acting of its cast, and the profound messages the show conveyed. He said that The Pit wasn't just an entertaining show, but an artistic masterpiece, a true depiction of the hidden corners of modern society, of the internal struggles of humanity. He had repeatedly praised the show's character development, how it guided viewers through various emotional spectrums, from hope to despair, from love to hatred. The Pit's win confirmed his belief and judgment, making him feel as if he himself was a part of that victory. He had spent hours analyzing each episode, writing his thoughts on his personal blog, and debating enthusiastically with friends about the show's theories. Now, his analysis and prediction efforts had paid off. Seeing the overflowing joy on Ethan's face, I couldn't help but smile. I understood that for him, the Emmys weren't just an awards night, but a celebration of storytellers, of the stories he cherished. It was where his passion soared, where his efforts in seeking and enjoying art were rewarded. I quietly stood up, patted his head, and said, "Congratulations, Ethan." He smiled brightly, nodded, and again glued his eyes to the screen. Ready for the next surprises of the Emmy Awards 2025. The night was still long, and for him, this was just the beginning of a wonderful emotional journey. Part 2. Triumphs and Unexpected Revelations. The exhilaration from the Pit's victory still hung in the air. A palpable wave of satisfaction that radiated from my brother. He leaned back slightly, a contented sigh escaping his lips, but his eyes remained glued to the television, already anticipating the next announcement. The host was now preparing to reveal the winner for Best Actor in a Drama Series, a category often considered the pinnacle of individual performance. Ethan had a few favorites, but one name consistently topped his mental list, often accompanied by earnest arguments about the depth and nuance the actor brought to his roles. The nominees' reels played, showcasing intense scenes, powerful monologues, and subtle expressions of emotion. Ethan murmured approvals and critiques under his breath, a self-appointed juror in this grand artistic trial. When the presenter finally opened the envelope, a hush fell over the room, even if it was just our living room. Then the name echoed, and the Emmy goes to Noah Weil. A surge of pure joy erupted from Ethan. The actor Noah, while won Best Actor, my brother clapped his hands and smiled with such unbridled enthusiasm that it was contagious. His applause was loud and sustained, his smile stretching from ear to ear, reflecting a profound sense of validation. "Yes," he exclaimed, pumping his fist gently in the air. "I knew it. He absolutely deserved it. Oh, that man, he just becomes the character. You forget you're watching an actor. You're just immersed in the story." He had admired Weil's work for years, from his iconic role as Dr. John Carter in to his more recent, gritty performances. Ethan always believed Weil possessed a rare ability to convey profound emotional complexity with effortless grace, making his characters feel incredibly real and relatable. This award for Ethan wasn't just for a single performance. It was a recognition of a long, distinguished career marked by dedication and exceptional talent. He would often engage me in lengthy discussions about Weil's range, highlighting specific scenes where Weil's subtle expressions spoke volumes. "He doesn't need grand gestures," Ethan would say, "just a look, a slight tremor in his voice, and he can break your heart or lift your spirits." That's true acting. Seeing Weil on stage, receiving the golden statuette, was a moment of true triumph for Ethan, a confirmation of his discerning eye for talent. The ceremony continued, shifting gears from intense drama to the lighter, often chaotic world of comedy. Ethan, despite his deep appreciation for serious dramas, also had a soft spot for well-crafted humor. He believed that comedy, in its own way, was just as powerful as drama, offering solace and perspective in a world often too grim. Soon, the announcements for comedy categories began, and it wasn't long before a particular show started dominating the screen. A funny show called The Studio won many awards. Ethan had followed The Studio since its first season, praising its witty writing, sharp observational humor, and a cast that effortlessly delivered punchlines. He found its portrayal of the behind-the-scenes chaos of a late-night talk show both hilarious and surprisingly insightful, often drawing parallels to the pressures and eccentricities of creative industries. Each time the studio's name was called, whether for writing, directing, or editing, Ethan would nod vigorously, a satisfied grin plastered across his face. Of course, he'd mutter to himself, "It's brilliant, pure genius." He adored the ensemble cast, each actor bringing a unique comedic timing that elevated the material. He often re-watched episodes just to catch subtle jokes or recurring gags he might have missed. The Studio was more than just a comedy for him. It was a masterclass in ensemble acting and sharp, satirical humor. Then came the moment for Best Actor in a Comedy Series. The nominees were a mix of seasoned veterans and rising stars, all known for their comedic prowess. But for Ethan, there was one clear standout. When the presenter announced, "And the Emmy goes to Seth Rogen," Ethan let out a hearty laugh of approval. Yes, Seth Rogen. Unbelievable. He cheered. Seth Rogen, the actor, also won Best Actor in a Comedy. Ethan had always admired Rogen's unique, laid-back, comedic style. His ability to blend crude humor with genuine warmth and vulnerability. He'd followed Rogen's career from his early days in Judd Apatow Productions. Recognizing his distinctive voice and charm, Rogen's acceptance speech, delivered with his characteristic, affable awkwardness, was a highlight. He joked about his surprise, his slightly rumpled tuxedo, and thanked everyone from his family to the guy who brought me coffee every morning, because without him, I'd probably still be sleeping. Ethan chuckled, appreciating the authenticity. That's why he's so good, Ethan commented. He's just ... Seth Rogen. He doesn't try to be anyone else. And that's what makes his comedy so endearing. He valued actors who could connect with an audience on a personal level, whose performances felt like an extension of their true selves. Rogen's win was a celebration of that genuine, unpretentious comedic spirit. The night wore on, full of predictable wins and heartfelt speeches. But then came a moment that truly caught everyone off guard. It was time for the Best Limited Series Award, a category known for showcasing powerful, often finite, storytelling. Ethan had a couple of limited series in mind that he thought were strong contenders. But none of them quite prepared him for the outcome. The nominees were read. A list of critically acclaimed productions with big budgets and star-studded casts. The tension was palpable when the envelope was opened and the name was announced. There was a collective gasp, quickly followed by enthusiastic applause from the audience. Adolescence. The presenter declared. A small show called Adolescence surprised everyone. It won Best Limited Series. Ethan's jaw dropped slightly. He blinked, then shook his head in a mixture of disbelief and pure delight. "Wow," he whispered. "Wow. Adolescence. I honestly didn't see that coming, but what a brilliant surprise." He hadn't paid much attention to Adolescence during the nomination period. It was a smaller production, perhaps overshadowed by flashier, more heavily promoted series. He knew it was well received by critics, but its victory over the behemoths in the category was truly unexpected. He remembered reading a few reviews praising its raw, unflinching portrayal of growing up in a challenging environment, and its ability to capture the often overlooked emotional complexities of teenagers. Its win was a testament to the Emmy's commitment to recognizing artistic merit, regardless of budget or star power. "This is fantastic," he mused. "It means they're really looking at the story, not just the marketing budget. This is what the Emmys should be about, finding those hidden gems." He was particularly thrilled to see a smaller, independent production getting such a significant platform. The win for Adolescence created a ripple of excitement, signifying that the television landscape was evolving, making room for diverse voices and narratives. And then another moment amplified that sentiment. As the night progressed, an award was presented that spoke volumes about the future of acting. The camera panned to a young face, visibly overwhelmed, making his way to the stage. A young actor named Owen Cooper won an award. "He is only 17 years old," Ethan gasped, genuinely astonished. His eyes widened as he watched the young man, barely out of childhood, accept the prestigious award. Owen Cooper's acceptance speech was brief, humble, and full of raw emotion. He thanked his family, his castmates, and the creative team, his voice cracking slightly with tears of joy. "My brother said, 'He is amazing.'" Ethan's voice was filled with a mixture of awe and profound admiration. 17. Just 17. And he's already doing work worthy of an Emmy. Imagine the potential. It's incredible to see such talent emerging so young. And to be recognized for it, he reflected on how difficult it must be for a young actor to maintain such an authentic performance under pressure, especially in a role that likely demanded significant emotional maturity. He believed Cooper's win wasn't just a nod to a promising career, but a signal that the industry was increasingly embracing fresh perspectives and raw, unpolished talent. "This is truly inspiring," he whispered, almost to himself. "It shows that if you have the talent and the dedication, age is just a number. It's about the impact you make with your art." As the first half of the ceremony wound down, Ethan's mind was buzzing. From the anticipated victories of seasoned veterans like Noah, while an established comedic giants like Seth Rogen, to the surprising triumphs of an underdog like adolescence and the astonishing recognition of a 17-year-old Owen Cooper. The night was proving to be a vibrant tapestry of diverse achievements. Each award, each speech added another layer to his understanding and appreciation of television's power. He saw it as a celebration not just of individual brilliance, but of the collective human spirit pushing boundaries, telling stories that resonated and daring to surprise. The emotional core of the night was just beginning to reveal itself, preparing him for the deeper reflections and powerful moments yet to come. Part 3. The echoes of voices. The awards continued to be handed out, a rhythmic flow of applause and acceptance speeches. But for Ethan, the atmosphere subtly shifted. The initial excitement over wins and surprises began to intertwine with a deeper appreciation for the narratives that unfolded, not just on screen, but also from the podium. This segment of the ceremony often brought forth the most personal and impactful messages, moments when the artists transcended their roles to speak about issues close to their hearts. Some moments made my brother feel emotional. A hush fell over the audience as a renowned actress, known for her powerful roles in social justice dramas, stepped onto the stage to accept her award. Her name was Eleanor Vance, a commanding presence with eyes that seemed to hold the weight of the world. Her performance in a limited series about historical injustices had been lauded by critics, and Ethan had been particularly moved by her portrayal of resilience and defiance. He had been so immersed in her character's journey that he felt a personal connection to her. She began her speech thanking the usual array of people. But then her voice took on a sharper, more resonant tone. One actress gave a strong speech about women's rights. Her words cut through the polished glamour of the event, addressing the systemic inequalities that women still face, not just in Hollywood, but globally. She spoke of the importance of representation, of equal pay, of safety and bodily autonomy, and of challenging patriarchal structures. Her voice, though calm, was imbued with an undeniable fire, a passion forged in years of advocating for change. She ended by calling for collective action, urging everyone, regardless of gender, to join the fight for true equality. "Our stories are powerful," she declared, her gaze sweeping across the room. "And it is through these stories and through our voices united that we can change the narrative for generations to come." Ethan, usually quick with a commentary or a prediction, was silent. His shoulders, which had been tensed with anticipation for earlier awards, now relaxed slightly, but his attention was absolute. I glanced at him, surprised by the intensity of his focus. His eyes were wide, absorbing every word, his expression a mixture of profound agreement and quiet contemplation. He slowly nodded his head, a thoughtful frown creasing his brow. "That's it," he whispered, almost to himself. "That's exactly it. That's the power of this platform." He had always believed in the transformative potential of art. But seeing an artist use her moment of triumph to advocate for such a fundamental cause clearly resonated deeply with him. He often discussed how television could be a tool for social commentary, not just pure escapism, and Eleanor Vance's speech was a vivid embodiment of that belief. He admired her courage to speak truth to power, especially on such a public stage. Later in the evening, another moment of poignant reflection unfolded. A charismatic actor, known for his roles in heartwarming dramas that often explored themes of human connection, accepted his award. His name was Marcus Thorne, and his presence exuded a calm, almost spiritual energy. He had won for his supporting role in a series that explored reconciliation and forgiveness, a performance Ethan had praised for its subtlety and emotional depth. Marcus Thorne began his speech with a gentle smile, thanking his family and colleagues. But then he transitioned into a message that seemed to envelop the entire room in a comforting embrace. Another actor talked about peace and kindness. He spoke eloquently about the divisions plaguing the world, the constant conflicts, and the erosion of empathy. He urged everyone to find common ground, to extend compassion, and to choose understanding over animosity. In a world often consumed by noise and anger, he mused. His voice, soft yet clear, let us remember the simple yet profound power of peace and kindness. These stories we tell, these connections we forge on screen, are reflections of the connections we yearn for in our own lives. Let us carry that message of unity beyond these walls, into our homes, our communities, and our hearts. His words were a balm, a quiet call to humanity amidst the glitz and glamour. Again, Ethan listened intently. My brother listened quietly. This time, there was a serene expression on his face, a softening in his usually animated features. He closed his eyes for a brief moment, as if to fully internalize the message, then opened them, looking towards the screen with a newfound sense of purpose. He picked up his remote control, lowering the volume just a fraction, as if to ensure the quiet moment lingered. TV can teach us many things, he murmured, repeating the sentiment aloud, as if to solidify its truth. It's not just about entertainment or escape. It's about empathy. It's about understanding. It's about what it means to be human. I watched him, fascinated. It wasn't often that I saw Ethan so subdued, so deeply moved. Usually, his reactions were boisterous, filled with enthusiastic pronouncements and animated gestures. But these speeches, especially Eleanor's fiery call to action and Marcus's gentle plea for peace, had touched a different chord within him. He wasn't just watching a show. He was experiencing a profound dialogue, a collective introspection facilitated by the very medium he so passionately admired. He often talked about how TV could be a mirror, reflecting society's challenges and triumphs. And these speeches were precisely that: raw, unfiltered reflections delivered with conviction. He started recalling specific instances from his favorite shows where characters navigated similar struggles. The brave lawyer fighting for justice, the unlikely hero extending kindness to an enemy, the quiet resilience of a mother protecting her family. He saw the speeches as extensions of the storytelling itself, a continuation of the dialogue between art and life. Think about it, Alice, he said, turning slightly towards me, his voice still low and thoughtful. The stories we watch, they shape our perspectives. They challenge us to think, to feel. When you see a character fighting for their rights or showing kindness in the face of adversity, it plants a seed. And then, when an actor steps up and reinforces that message, it makes it real. It tells you that these aren't just fictional ideals. They're values we should strive for in our own lives. His words carried a weight I hadn't often heard, a maturity that transcended his usual boyish enthusiasm for television. It was clear that these emotional moments were not just fleeting sentiments. They were reinforcing his core belief in the profound impact of storytelling. For him, these Emmy Awards weren't just a competition. They were a cultural event, a platform for significant discourse. The glamour and the accolades were secondary to the powerful messages conveyed, the human connections forged, and the inspiration ignited. As the ceremony moved on, the afterglow of these speeches lingered, a testament to the enduring power of voices that dared to speak beyond the script, straight from the heart. He felt a renewed sense of purpose in his own avid viewership, knowing that he wasn't just passively consuming content, but actively engaging with a medium that held the potential for meaningful change and profound personal growth. Part 4. A Shadow of Absence, the Emmys, a grand tapestry woven with threads of triumph. Emotion and surprising revelations continued its elaborate unfolding. Ethan remained immersed, his analytical mind processing every win, every speech, every nuance of the night. Yet, amidst the glittering successes and heartfelt declarations, there was a subtle undercurrent, a small imperfection that briefly cast a shadow over his otherwise ecstatic viewing experience. But not everything was perfect. The hosts were transitioning between categories, engaging in light-hearted banter, when one of them cleared his throat, his smile faltering slightly as he addressed the camera with a more serious tone. "We have a small update, folks," he announced, a note of regret in his voice. "We regret to inform you that the incredibly talented and beloved Sofia Vergara will not be joining us tonight. She was, unfortunately, taken ill earlier today and is unable to attend." A collective sigh seemed to ripple through the televised audience. And in our living room, Ethan let out a distinctly audible groan. His shoulders slumped, and the earlier bright sparkle in his eyes dimmed momentarily. "Oh no," he muttered, shaking his head slowly. "Not Sophia. That's a real shame." His disappointment was palpable, a stark contrast to the earlier jubilant cheers. "My brother was sad. He likes her very much." I looked over at him, surprised by the depth of his reaction. While he appreciated many actors, his particular fondness for Sofia Vergara was something I'd observed for years. He admired her vibrant energy, her comedic timing, and her undeniable charm. He often spoke about her breakthrough role in Modern Family, praising her ability to bring such warmth and humor to her character, Gloria. "She's just sunshine on screen, you know," he once told me. "Her laugh is infectious, and she always seems so genuinely happy. And she's an incredible businesswoman too, building her empire while making us all laugh. She's just a force." He had especially looked forward to seeing her red carpet outfit. As she was known for her bold and elegant fashion choices, and anticipated one of her famously witty and slightly self-deprecating presentations of an award. Was she nominated for something this year? I asked, trying to gauge the extent of his sadness. He shook his head, a wistful look on his face. No, not this year. But she was scheduled to present an award, Best Supporting Actress in a Comedy, actually. And you know, she always brings such a great vibe to these shows. Her humor is so natural, so genuine. Plus, he added with a sheepish grin, her red carpet looks are legendary. I was really looking forward to seeing what she'd wear this year. He scrolled quickly through his phone, checking entertainment news sites, hoping for more details, a timeline for her recovery, or even a pre-recorded message she might have sent. The absence felt like a small tear in the otherwise perfect fabric of the evening for him. His disappointment was more than just missing a celebrity appearance. It was about the missing energy she brought to such events. For Ethan, the Emmys were not just about who won, but about the collective experience, the celebration of talent and personality. Sofia Vergara represented a certain kind of joyous, effervescent spirit that he believed was essential to the show's overall atmosphere. Her absence felt like a missing ingredient in a carefully crafted recipe. Well, I hope she feels better soon, I offered, trying to be sympathetic. It's a shame she's sick, but her health is more important. Ethan nodded, still looking a little forlorn. Of course, her health is paramount. I really wanted to see her. She's one of those people who just lights up a room, even through a screen. You feel her presence. He sighed again, a deep, heavy sigh that showed just how much this small snag had affected him. It was a reminder that even in the world of glamour and perfection, human vulnerabilities were ever present. He understood, intellectually, that people get sick, but emotionally, it was still a letdown in a night he had built up so much anticipation for. He had even imagined her playful banter with a co-presenter. Perhaps a quick joke about her accent or a self-deprecating comment about her age. These small human moments were what made the Emmys feel less like a stuffy industry event and more like a gathering of incredibly talented, yet still relatable individuals. Without her, a certain spark was missing. The ceremony continued. But for a few minutes, Ethan's attention was divided. He kept checking his phone, looking for updates, or perhaps a comforting message from the actress herself on social media. His earlier buoyant mood had been tempered by this unexpected news. It was a stark contrast to the emotional highs he'd experienced with Eleanor Vance's. Those moments had elevated his spirit, reaffirming his faith in television's power. Sofia Vergara's absence, however, brought him back to a more grounded, human reality that even the brightest stars are susceptible to the ordinary challenges of life. He tried to refocus, nodding along to the next winner, forcing a smile when a particularly witty joke was delivered. But the thought lingered. He pictured her at home, perhaps tucked in bed with a hot tea, missing the glitz and the glamour, but more importantly, missing the chance to celebrate with her peers. It made him feel a pang of sympathy mixed with his own personal disappointment. He imagined the conversations she might have had with other nominees, the warmth she would have added to the event. "It's just a reminder," Ethan said eventually, breaking his silence, that behind all the dazzling lights and the perfect outfits, these are still real people, with real lives, real challenges. You forget that sometimes, when you see them up on a pedestal. His voice was quieter now, a little softer, as if the news of Sofia Vergara's illness had injected a dose of gentle reality into his dreamy Emmy night. It underscored the fragile humanity that underpinned even the most polished performances and the most celebrated careers. This small moment of disappointment, paradoxically, deepened his appreciation for the human element of the Emmys, reminding him that the stories told, and the people telling them, were ultimately vulnerable and real. Part 5. The enduring power of stories. As the final awards were announced and the last acceptance speeches concluded, the grand spectacle of the Emmy Awards 2025 began its graceful descent. The dazzling stage lights softened, the orchestra played its closing medley, and the camera panned across the now dispersing audience, capturing tired but happy faces. The live broadcast eventually faded to black, leaving behind a lingering hum in the quiet of our living room. After the show, my brother sat in silence. The empty screen now reflected the subtle glow of the city lights outside, a stark contrast to the vibrant images that had danced across it for hours. Ethan remained motionless on the sofa, a half-empty bag of chips beside him, an untouched soda can on the coffee table. He wasn't asleep. His eyes were open, fixed on the blank screen, but his gaze seemed to penetrate beyond it into the realms of his own thoughts. His usual animated energy had receded, replaced by a profound stillness, a deep contemplation. The emotional roller coaster of the night, the triumphant cheers, the unexpected gasps, the heartfelt tears, and the quiet disappointment had settled into a quiet, reflective pond within him. I watched him from my armchair, a comfortable distance away. The initial wave of empathy for his earlier sadness about Sofia Vergara had passed, replaced by a quiet respect for his absorption in the moment. I knew better than to interrupt these post-Emmy meditations. These were sacred moments for Ethan, a time for processing, for allowing the impact of the night to fully resonate. He would often replay moments in his mind, dissecting speeches reevaluating performances, and connecting the dots between various narratives. After several minutes, which felt much longer in the stillness, Ethan finally stirred. He let out a slow, deliberate breath, as if releasing the last vestiges of the night's excitement. He slowly turned his head towards me, a faint, contented smile playing on his lips. His eyes, though still a little tired from the long night, held a familiar spark of deep understanding. He wasn't just happy about the wins. He was profoundly moved by the entire experience. He gently patted the arm of the sofa, a silent invitation for me to join him in the quiet reflection. I obliged, moving to sit beside him. The air was cool now, the house settling into the deep hours of the night. He looked at the screen and said, "Stories are powerful." His voice was soft, almost a whisper, yet it resonated with an undeniable conviction. "They are," he continued, his gaze drifting back to the dark expanse of the TV. "So incredibly powerful. More than just entertainment." He paused, collecting his thoughts, and then articulated the core belief that had fueled his passion for television all these years. They help us feel, learn, and grow. He wasn't just reciting a cliché. He was speaking from a place of genuine, lived experience. He thought back to The Pit's Victory, a show that dared to explore complex human struggles, forcing viewers to confront uncomfortable truths and feel deeply for its characters. "Take The Pit," he mused. "It made us feel the weight of injustice, the burden of secrets. It wasn't always easy to watch, but it was important. It sparked conversations, made people think about their own biases, their own roles in society." Then he remembered Owen Cooper, the 17-year-old prodigy. "And Owen Cooper," he said, a renewed sense of wonder in his voice. "His performance in adolescence, it wasn't just acting. It was a window into the mind of a young person grappling with identity, with harsh realities. It helped so many learn about what it's like to grow up in difficult circumstances, to understand perspectives different from their own." For Ethan, Cooper's raw authenticity was a testament to the power of stories to foster empathy and bridge generational gaps. It allowed audiences, regardless of their own backgrounds, to connect with a universal experience of youth and vulnerability. His thoughts then turned to the powerful speeches. "And the speeches tonight," he added, a renewed intensity in his voice. "Eleanor Vance talking about women's rights, Marcus Thorne about peace and kindness,